Mundon Stone Point is on the River Blackwater in Essex, England, and you can find it on the southern side, more or less opposite Osey Island, at the entrance to Lawling Creek. It's one of those places on the Blackwater that are really only easily accessible by water. Many people go there, canoeists, small boats from the local sailing clubs, and various cruising sailors go there for barbecue and such. I've come here because Charles Stock mentioned that it was one of his favourite anchorages, and that in itself made it a place to visit. I'm also scouting out the route and the point for a possible overnight stop next week, assuming the weather allows, of course. I arrived about 2 hours before high water and dropped anchor in about 2 foot of water and about 10 yards away from the point. At this time there's still a long shingle spit sticking out into the creek, visible above the sea. But by the time I'd had brunch and a nap, the spit and the mud were covered by the water. Since the wind had dropped, I got out the drone and took some aerial footage of the point and Naiad. I may have mentioned it before, but videos of sailing are really boring. Really, really boring. And since I don't have scantily clad nubile females lying in the sun all over the boat, any videos that I make of sailing are going to be even more boring than that. So, videos of other boats, so their owners can see their own boat sailing, and videos of Naiad anchored in places, like this. It was a lovely day, but by now the wind had dropped. I was going to have an interesting time getting home, that's for sure. Still, that's for later. Swinging round a bit to the north, you can see Osey Island, and that white blob amongst the green that you can see on the screen is the big house. The island is privately owned, and I guess that's where everybody lives. Going round a bit further, we look further up the River Blackwater, and although you can't see it from here, from in the cockpit I could quite clearly see the tops of the masts of the Thames barges moored at Mundon. There's a back eddy past Mundon Stone Point, and it's there whichever state of tide. This can be a little confusing if you're not expecting it, and you can find yourself travelling in a direction that's somewhat unexpected. Still, if you know it's there, you can take advantage of it. Anchoring, for example, should be fairly easy if you make sure that you use the tide to your advantage. On the other side of Lawling Creek, there's a caravan park, which is fine, I suppose, except when they're playing loud music and the jet skis and motorboats come out and zoom around the place, both of which can be really irritating. So that's Mundon Stone Point. A really, really nice place to visit, and I'm definitely going to come here more often. The trip was very interesting. As you can see here, my progress through the water was not very good. Panning up towards the sail, you can see that it's hanging fairly limply with just a small amount of wind in the sail, the burgee hardly moving. If I take a look at this racing buoy that you can see approaching, that really seems to be moving, but you can see from the froth on the water just beside the boat that my progress through the water is virtually nil. Over the ground, however, it's something else entirely. A stark reminder of just how much attention you need to pay to the tides when you're planning your voyage. There's very little way that I could sail against this sort of tide. This spring tide took me all the way home. According to the navigation software, I was doing 2.6 knots over the ground. Not at all bad.